Stan, you've been waiting much too long, Welcome to Truth, a radio program designed with you in mind, a program whose sole purpose is to empower you, our listeners, for information leads to knowledge, and knowledge is, you got it, power. And as always, I want to empower you to take control of your life, those things that impact you, your family, and your community. As always, too, I want to encourage you to visit us at our website at www.gwen-truth.com. And on that website, you can access all the resource listings that will give you powerful links to powerful information on your municipalities, your county agencies, state agencies, federal agencies, and advocacy groups. Also go there so you can take part in the weekly poll. And basically, I'm asking you, how is the economy treating you? How is it treating you? Treating you okay or not so okay or whatever? That's what the query is. As has been stated, I'm Gwen Azama-Edwards, former city commissioner, retired city clerk, city of Daytona Beach, author, minister, community volunteer, just a person who loves life. One of the things I just love that my mom said, that, you know, if you remember nothing else about me, she says, remember that I had a zest for life. And myself and my siblings and my sons and nieces and nephews try to remember that about her and try to carry on that tradition, having a zest for life. Because when you have a passion in life, I'll tell you, you wake up every day just raring to go and do that thing that just empowers you internally to just want to do it and just always do your best. So shout out to all of our listeners and to each and every one of you. Just God bless. God bless. You know, today I was looking up at the sky, and my guest today is the president of Daytona State College, Carol Eaton. And I was looking up at the sky, and I was looking in different directions wherever I found myself this morning. I know where I was, but, you know, anyway, where I was. And as I looked in different directions, the sky was different in each direction. And it was like an ominous type of a sight in some places, and then in some other places that it was just so awesome. It was almost like God Himself had sent a little funnel of clouds down just to show the connection between earth and heaven. I mean, it was just awesome. I took pictures and I just put them in my computer to keep them because, you know, this is a beautiful, beautiful world that we live in. And the only time that it gets ugly is when there are ugly people, you know, people who have bad attitudes. But if you keep the right attitude, I tell you, life is beautiful, the world is beautiful, no matter what you're going through, keep the right attitude and things will always go up and always improve. I guarantee it, So, as I've stated, my guest tonight, of course, is the president of Daytona State College, Carol Eaton, and I'm just so happy and so proud to have her here. You know, I always say this about all of my guests, Carol, that they're like friends. So, may I call you Carol? I always start out saying that. Even if I know the person, I always say that because sometimes there are people who are listening in and they don't understand if there's a friendship or relationship or whatever. And it's always right to treat individuals with respect for the position that they're in. And I said this about the new president of Daytona, of Bethune-Cookman University. I said it about the prior president, Dr. Reed. There are just some people that you meet, and right off the bat, you know, there's a connection. And it's that's why with some especially ladies that I meet, I say we're like soul sisters because we're connected, you know. Somebody said, a girlfriend of mine makes the statement that we're sisters by different mothers type thing. But I really felt that connection when you came, and there was a community forum. And we got the opportunity of getting to meet you and hear about you, and one of the things you started off sharing right away, which I've asked that you share with our listeners as well, is about the non-typical background that you have that brought you to this point and in education. And I just think it's awesome, and I think that people need to hear that because it's so motivational to me and inspiring.
Well, good. Yes, thank you, Gwen. And of course you can call me Carol. I am just delighted to be here with you tonight. And your opening words are very inspirational. You know, your listeners can't see it, but I'm sitting here nodding and agreeing that, you know, life is good. And we're just really blessed to be here.
Yes,
and to meet great people and meet new friends all the time. So I agree with all of that. My background is not that different from many of our students at the college. When I was in high school, and I won't tell you how long ago that was, but I had great plans. I was always going to be a math teacher, but life got in the way. Actually, a boyfriend got in the way, and I took a few detours. So I did not go to college straight out of high school. And when I share that with our students, they're sometimes surprised because I think they see us as adults and successful people in our jobs, and they're surprised to hear that maybe we made some bad choices or we took a different path. So I share that with our students, and I say, if there had not been a community college right there for me when I sort of settled down and decided that I needed to get a job, I'm sure I would not have pursued higher education. So I eventually got where I wanted to be, which was to be a math teacher, and finally convinced my parents that maybe I wasn't going to be just a rowdy teenager for the rest of my life. So that's my story, and I share that with our students and with folks because I think it's important to realize that wherever you find yourself, you have choices.
Absolutely.
And you can make choices that put you on a good path, even if some of the choices you made in the past maybe perhaps weren't the right ones.
One of the things, and in fact I raise my sons to know that in any situation you do have choices, and you need to be willing to live with whatever the consequences of that choice is that you decide that road you're going to go down. So you need to really think through those things before you do anything or take any action. The other thing that impressed me very much during that community forum too was the fact that you had just left a meeting, I believe, with some of the students at a certain time, and they actually followed you over because they were so impressed with you. You as the candidate, you as the person who they could relate to, you as the person that they felt actually cared about them.
Well, I do care about our students, and I try to tell them that every time I see them, because they are our mission. They are why we exist. We exist to help students be successful. And I also care about all of our employees, and I try to tell the employees that as well. You know, I sometimes like to share little stories or my perspective on things, and I have to remind people sometimes that, you know, we do pay you to go to work, because there will be some times at work where it's hard and difficult. But isn't it nice when you can also go to work and be among friends? And I think that's an important characteristic, a strong characteristic at Daytona State College, is that we are good colleagues, and we support each other, and we remind each other that we are in the business of changing people's lives.
Absolutely. As I shared with you earlier, my first year of college actually was at then Daytona State, Daytona Beach Community College. And I had gone there because I got the scholarship to go to Stetson University, but of all the classes that I took in high school, trigonometry, calculus, new math, I mean, you name it, no algebra. And they required algebra, so I had to go to Daytona State to get that one course. And of course, at that time, hopefully you don't still do that unless it's needed. We were all made to take a remedial courses before we could get the other courses that we wanted. And so I ended up there for not just one semester, but for 2 semesters. But I did end up on the dean's list both times. My mom was very proud of that. And but you know, the teachers at that time, and I'm sure it's the case now. The teachers were not only professionals, but you know, they didn't play either. In fact, one of our teachers who had a large class about art and culture, 150 students pretty much, he used to always say to us, you know, I'm not going to make you attend class. I'm not going to make you do anything. I'm going to teach you. That's my job. Your job is to learn. And he says, if you don't want to be here, then don't come. You know, drop out of the class or whatever. But if you're here to learn. That's what your parents are sending you to school for. That's why you're here. So try to learn something. You know, and he was, to me, he was phenomenal. There were so many teachers that I really got the opportunity to attend their classes and to meet them and work with them. And I just thought it was awesome, and it was a great start for what I would end up with in terms of Stetson University, which has phenomenal professors as well, and the small class atmosphere and the like. But I do enjoy now Daytona State College, serving on the boards, the committees, the staff that you have, the professors that you have. I think it meets a great deal in terms of the needs for the community. And now that you are, of course, Daytona State College, the question that I'm sure comes up a lot is, are you still a community college?
Oh, that's a really great question, and I would answer that with a resounding yes. And the reason I answer it that way is what that means to us to be a community college is that we are open access. We are there for students. We don't really care what you did in high school. We even have some programs to help if you haven't yet finished high school. But we don't care about that. What we care about is that you have the motivation, just what you were saying, that the students have the motivation and the will to come in and learn and change their lives. So yes, we are still a community college. People are surprised to hear that out of our bachelor's degree programs, that consists of only about 3% of our students. Only about 3% of our students are in our bachelor's program. By far, the most number of students are in our Associate of Arts program, which is the program for students to transfer, as you did, transfer to another university. And the rest of our students are in what we call our Associate of Science or certificate programs, which are the programs that are designed to put the students right out in the workforce. So we work very closely with business and industry. We have great partners, and we provide the workforce for those businesses in the area. So we are definitely a community college with the special unique advantage of being able to offer bachelor's degrees.
And I think that's awesome. In addition to the fact, having served on the Center for Business Excellence, and I know you serve on that board as well.
I do.
I'll be going off soon, but after 2 decades of serving, and it's been great. It's been awesome because we have great people who serve on that board. But I know that Daytona State College works with that group and other funding sources to work with the employers to provide training for their current employees and also help other employees to actually be able to get advancement in their setting. And that's awesome.
Absolutely. And the program right now that I'm sure you're most familiar with, and your listeners might be very interested, is in our manufacturing program. You know, we've heard a lot of good news lately, a lot of potential businesses coming to the area, and hopefully that means more jobs. And then people are concerned, you know, where will the workforce come from? And we do work very closely with the Center for Business Excellence, and they find people who are looking for work. They test them, and then they send them to the appropriate places for training. And again, a big area right now is manufacturing, and so we're working with the Center for Business Excellence and the VMA to put together programs to start individuals at the very beginning and teach them the skills that they need to be qualified for the workforce.
And we alluded to earlier about the mission, the overall mission of Daytona State College. How would you say, and we know that the focus, of course, would be the students. That should always be the focus in any educational setting, in my opinion. But the overall mission, as we look at it as a community college, as we look at the students that are coming from all walks of life, I'm sure you have a lot of students who or actually it's probably the first time anyone in their families either attended a college or anything near like a college to get any kind of training. And then the median age, we think of college students as being young people, and that's not typical of your college either.
That's right, it's not. Our average age is in the late 20s, about 26 or 27 years old. So we have a lot of students that have either been in the workforce and are coming back for more training, or perhaps like I did, they took a little detour after high school before college. So yes, and our mission is to really meet students where they are, whether they're right out of high school and they're honor students, or whether they're a returning adult, whether they're there for specific training, or whether they're there to start the first 2 years of their higher education. Our mission is to really help each individual. We have 13,000 students, so wow. It's quite a task to have, you know, the individual attention that each student needs. But we have a tremendous faculty, as you've commented, and our staff and our support staff, to make sure that the students get what they need, and that's really our mission.
And I know, having worked also with your Center for International Business Education, that you guys also have a lot of international students. Probably not as many as they've had years back before 9/11, but starting to build.
That's exactly right, and we did see a tremendous drop after 9/11. It's come back a little bit, but there's still some pretty strict guidelines. We're fortunate to have our neighbor of Embry-Riddle, and of course they attract a different kind of student population than we do, but occasionally we see some international students who are interested in taking that transfer route.
And I probably should have mentioned this before we went on, but I'm sure you get questions about your nursing offerings, and of course Bethune-Cookman University, which also offers nursing. And the new president has been really embraced working with you, and actually feels and agrees that there are more than enough students to go around.
Absolutely. You know, and again, in your opening comments, you talked about there are times when you just meet people and you seem to have a kindred spirit. And I felt that way the moment I met Dr. Jackson. He's just a real gentleman and just a really good educator. And so one of my first conversations with him was about the nursing program. And I think because of his background, his involvement with community colleges and transfers, he right away understood that the student population at Bethune-Cookman University is a different population than at Daytona State. But the other thing, Gwen, is that the nursing situation right now there is such a shortage that it is critical. And Bethune-Cookman and UCF and Daytona State, and we're still not going to produce enough nurses. And so when I talked to Dr. Jackson from the very beginning, he said, let's do this as a partnership. And I don't know for sure, but at the time he was talking about even the possibility of looking at a master's in nursing. And what a great addition that would be. If Daytona State gets our Bachelor of Science in Nursing approved, which I hope is going to happen on September 17th, what a great pipeline. And again, the need for master's trained nurses is very critical as well. So yes, we have partnered together, and we see that, again, for the good of the community.
Absolutely.
You know, our missions are different, our student populations are different, but ultimately we're all interested in bettering this community.
Absolutely, and I just read something recently that someone had prepared in terms of the new Healthcare Act, and not just even based on that, the fact that we have a shortage, and will have even more of a shortage of physicians. And saying that one of the ways that they can deal with some of that shortfall is that they will take your master's degrees, nurses, and the like, and allow them to do some of the things that heretofore perhaps doctors have done, not operating that kind of thing, but there are other things that they can do to help to lessen the situation in terms of that shortage.
That's absolutely right. Nurse practitioners, and again, the field of nursing is changing significantly, and of course that's true about all of the fields. Really, when you think about technology and the technology that's changing, you know, our nursing students have the opportunity to start their practice on mannequins. And so they sort of get a leg up on what's happening, and I'm sure the training for doctors is that same way. It's just incredible changes that are happening because of technology.
Oh yes, absolutely. And I had the opportunity of going to Bethune-Cookman's nursing program, and they too have those mannequins that act like real people.
Yes.
And the like. You know, it's like the world is changing, and in many ways though the values which are changing too, but there's a lot about the value in terms of education that I think we need to remind people of constantly, because there is a value in education. And I know even in terms of the community college concept, that you all have the connection with the technical school that's there as well, and you are providing and meeting, as you said, the students where you find them. But there's such a variety in terms of the opportunities that are there for getting educated and getting trained. Not everyone will get a college degree, but everyone will get some type of training that will allow them to go into an occupation that they can enjoy and actually be a contributing part of society. I often tell people that if I had my druthers in terms of having a child or a relative in the family, I'd want one to be a doctor, and then one to be a lawyer, and one to be an auto mechanic, another to be an electrician, and then a plumber. You know, all of the things that you need in life.
Right, right. And we do have certificate programs out at the Advanced Technology College on Williamson. And if I may, there's been some confusion. There have been a couple of articles in the paper about what's happening with that Advanced Technology College, because some people actually thought perhaps we were closing it because there's conversation among Volusia County schools and Flagler County schools and us. And let me assure you, that's not what's going on at all. We're really just changing sort of the legal structure behind the Advanced Technology College, and I'm pleased to say Flagler County Schools passed it at their meeting just this week. Volusia County Schools will consider it next week, and so what will happen is the legal structure behind it will change. The high schools are getting out of that charter partnership, and the college will own the building itself. So it's all good news, and we use that building extensively for, as you said, the electricians and the plumbers and the HVAC people, and our emergency technology program is there, as well as our Bachelor of Science in Engineering. So it's a robust program, and again, at very many different levels to do the kind of workforce training that you're talking about.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. And I think even police and fire are trained there.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes, awesome program. I got to do a shout out for Louis Mercer,
Yes.
great friend, and he's an awesome person as well. Now, as we look at education overall, and I'm sure there are people who will say, oh, these kids aren't what they used to be, they aren't anything like us, etc. To that we can say amen, and we can also say, you know, for some, you know, maybe there's a little disappointment or disillusionment that's going on there, but for so many of the others, the super majority of young people are just awesome. And I know you guys have what used to be called a 2+2 program. I don't know, maybe they still call it that. And you all just recently made a decision about helping to, in terms of the payment scheme that's involved with that.
Are you talking about with the high schools, the dual
yes,
enrollment
dual
program?
Enrollment, yes,
the dual enrollment program,
Mm-hmm.
yes. You know, that program has been in place much longer than people realize, I think. It's an outstanding program that Florida has been known for as a leader in education. And that's the program where high school students, usually juniors and seniors in high school, can take the college classes. Now, there are lots of other things high school students can do. They can take AP classes and International Baccalaureate. But the dual enrollment, they actually come to our campus and take the college classes with other college students. And so it is a great experience. And for many, many years, there's no tuition charged to the students. And basically the college has been just offering those classes for no tuition. And the legislation this past year was put in place to have the public schools pay for that tuition. However, they didn't do it until like the last day of session.
Oh, wow.
So the schools had no notice that it was coming,
Mhm.
and so again, to the strength of the partnership that we have with both Volusia and Flagler County Schools, we have been able to work out an agreement, an arrangement this year, so that our dual enrollment students, still no charge to the student or the family, and we've worked out an arrangement with each of the public school systems that we will reimburse them this year, and we'll see what happens in the legislation this coming year.
Yeah, and there will be time to try to work something out in terms of their budget. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, those guys in Tallahassee, they're kind of strange that way, aren't they?
I won't make a comment about politicians.
Right,
I know your background.
I know. Oh, goodness. Now, well, I said I wouldn't get into your contract, but I have absolutely no doubt that you're going to do well and everything will be super. And I guess basically they say they're waiting to get, I guess, people in place and approved and all that stuff, so that you'll have the bosses that approve you will be the bosses that you'll have. And there's something, you know, right and good to say about that. But things have been going well in terms of your board and in terms of them actually listening and really looking out, I think, for the students, for the staff, and for education. And even in terms of, because the same thing that I read about in terms of health, the smoking issue, the decision that you all made, and from what I've read, they're hoping others will do the same. I think many people don't understand the total impact in terms of healthcare costs and the like that smoking provides, not only in terms of the high cost to the individuals who are buying the cigarettes and the like, but other individuals in terms of the impact as they look at what's happening with healthcare and insurance. So that really is a key decision for every employer to make in terms of the smoking ban.
Yes, and as we're seeing, more and more employers are doing that, and for us it is about a healthy environment, and we have put in place some stop smoking classes to try to help our employees, and to really have an information, educational sessions for our students, so that, you know, again, those are some of the decisions that young people might make, and in a few years wish they hadn't made that decision, and so we're trying to put some support in place to help students as well. Yeah, the cost of healthcare is certainly a concern for all of us nowadays.
Now, Daytona State College is in a few locations. If you would share with them those locations, and what can we look at in terms of what has maybe more recently or soon will be happening in those locations? You know, anything coming up the pike in terms of changes, improvements?
Absolutely, yes. Well, we've talked about the two sites already. Of course, Daytona Beach is sort of known as our main site right here, and our Advanced Technology College, which is very close on Williamson. Our smallest site is down in New Smyrna Beach, but also very exciting for them right now. We have our cosmetology program there, and our newest program is our barbering program.
Wow.
And right out of the gate, they've got over 30 students already.
Wow.
So that's pretty exciting for that community. Out in the western part of the county, we have campuses at both Daytona and DeLand, and a variety of classes there. We have tried to put some of our bachelor's programs on each of those campuses, so that's what's new for each of them. And then, of course, north, and I've mentioned Flagler County a couple of times, we have a site in Palm Coast in Flagler County, and that's our exciting new building that's going up there.
Oh,
Flagler has been one of the fastest growing sites among all 28 state and community colleges, and so because of that, the state actually gave us money last year, and we have already broken ground and beginning to build a brand new building there for classrooms, science labs, some administrative offices. So it's all very exciting, certainly.
Wow. Now, in terms of your instructors, do you still have adjunct professors?
Yes, we certainly do. We have about 350 full-time faculty at the college at all of those sites together. And then we'll have in any one semester anywhere between maybe 350 and 500 adjunct faculty. They bring a wealth of knowledge and information into the classroom. They're often practitioners doing the job during the day and then come teach at night, that sort of thing. So yes, we rely on adjuncts as well as our full-time faculty.
And you know, one of the things that about a university college setting that you don't hear a lot about, but the students are told about it once they start to attend the classes and the like, and that's the different groups, social avenues and outlets that you have for those students who, you know, if they want to be with similar groups of people who are like, I'll say it that way, like them, you know, that they can relate to, let's say it that way, whether it be special women's groups or men groups or Hispanic groups, African American groups, etc., people who have some kind of a kinship.
Yes, and you know, sometimes people think because we are a commuting college or commuter college, that perhaps there's not that kind of social life. And I don't want to mislead anybody and think that, you know, we have the kind of robust social life that a residence hall would bring. But we do have a very active student government association and then a number of student activities, which you're referring to, whether it's the surfing club. That was one of my favorites when I came here. I learned about a surfing club. Or as you said, just the social groups, or whether it's our Phi Theta Kappa, which is our International Honor Society. And of course, we have very, very good athletics. So if our students are good athletes, they can be on our baseball team or basketball team or our brand new women's volleyball team, our women's golf team. And so there are lots of opportunities for students to get involved. Again, because many of our students are older, they're also very much busy with jobs and family. So there's a lot of ways for students to spend their time. And it is difficult sometimes to get students to be involved in those student activities, but the opportunities are certainly there for them if they have the time and ambition and energy and desire to join groups.
Now, do you offer online courses as well?
Oh yes, very, very many online classes. In fact, all of our classes have an online component. And that means that the faculty members teach part of the class online, or at least have the students have to log in on the computer to get their grades or things like that. But we have entire programs that are online. And in fact, this past year, U.S. News and World Report, who is known for their rankings of colleges, for the just the second year in a row, now has ranked colleges that offer bachelor's degrees in an online format. And we do that in our Bachelor of Applied Science in Supervision and Management. And Daytona State College was ranked, drum roll please, number 2 in the nation for our online bachelor's programs.
Oh,
isn't that incredible?
Yes, it is. It is. I haven't seen anything written up on that.
Oh, that was last spring.
Oh,
that
okay.
was last, I can send you the links.
All right.
We tried to get that word out there, but yes.
Awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
it is awesome. It is awesome. You know, and the one bachelor's program I haven't mentioned yet, which I really would like to, and I think it's important for your listeners to know about this, is our Bachelor of Science in Education. Education is what we're all about, and I know you're passionate about it, and I'm passionate about it. And sometimes I think, well, people might think, well, you know, the economy was a little slow, there might not be jobs. But let me tell you that that's not the case. There are over 400 teachers that were hired in Volusia County alone this past year. And, you know, that's not necessarily new jobs, but that's people who are retired and, you know, moved out of the area and so on. So there's real opportunity in education, and I would encourage people to find out more about that.
Absolutely. And we should, of course, mention, too, your photography. I mean, world class.
World class, and our the museum associated with our photography program is also world class. And what's unique about the photography program, as you know, is it is a partnership with UCF. And that means the students start at Daytona State College, earn their associate's degree, and stay right in the same classroom, sometimes with the same teachers and teachers from UCF, and then they can get their bachelor's degrees. So it's really a very great opportunity for people in this area. who think that they might have to go someplace else to get that kind of degree, but we do have that opportunity right here.
And the photography, the museum that's associated with that, which has displays on periodically, I mean continually.
Yes, and world-renowned artists come in and they have openings with that, and invite the public to come and see. Again, sort of a hidden gem that people might not know about.
Now, what is your association with the medical school?
The FSU is on our campus.
Right.
They have, basically it's their administrative offices for, it's actually a regional branch of FSU on our campus. So we are their host, we are their landlord.
Okay, awesome. As we talk about, even though the median or mean age group for your students is somewhere near 30, there's still some young people who are associated not just in a dual enrollment program, but who want to go to college, and to them the first place and the best place to start is at the community college level with Daytona State. And for young people who are starting out, who are really trying to decide what it is that they should do, because I have a great respect for you and your wisdom. Your husband's listening, so he's probably, maybe chuckling a little bit. But I do, I really do. And I think over the years, you've probably shared a lot of that wisdom with a lot of young people in the various positions that you've been in. What would you say to our listeners who have children, and maybe they have, I've always encouraged them to have the young people listening as well, to share with them about, success and how to measure success, and really and truly what it takes to be successful?
Wow, those are pretty heavy questions here, Gwen. I think what it takes to be successful is to know yourself, and to set your goals, set them high enough so that you're challenged, but not so high that you get frustrated. Because sometimes I think in this day and age, and again, I go back to technology and how students, the younger students nowadays, the right out of high school, college age students, are so bombarded with social media and technology, and they think they have to have it all right at the beginning. And they think they have to have all of the answers right at the beginning. And so some of the wisdom, for what it's worth, I think, is to take it slow and go where your desire is. Go where you can be successful, so that you don't set that goal too high so that you can achieve it, but you can see that you're making progress. And you asked, how do you know that you're being successful? How do you know what that progress is? Well, certainly completing classes and a semester at a time, a year at a time, that gives 18, 19-year-old students the ability to see that they really are on the right path. And another way to measure that kind of success is to really work with some of the resources at the college. We have fantastic resources in our library, our academic support center, our writing center. And sometimes it's a measure of success when you know when you need to ask for help. And then when you go ask for help, and you can all of a sudden figure that you can pass that algebra class, right?
Yes.
Or that reading class, or that whatever class was a real challenge for you, I think that's a great measure of success. So for what it's worth, my wisdom would be to slow down a little bit. Our society pushes so much on young people, and to really focus on who you are and where you want to go.
Absolutely. I remember back to, it's been many years, back to when I was a freshman, but I remember being asked the question of, what is it that you want to be once you finish? And even though I had an idea, a couple of ideas or so, I wasn't one of those people who automatically knew. I had some ideas like psychiatrist, psychologist, and all that kind of stuff. And actually, because of the love I had for so many of my teachers, even becoming a teacher. But I found that I didn't fully appreciate what it was that I loved until I took almost the last class on my senior year, and then I wanted to go back and change my major and do something else, which had to do with really more sociology, actually, and working with people. And as it turns out, my life, even though I've done some different things, has been about overall working with people and helping people. But for our young people, as you've stated, you don't always know what it is that you want to be when you grow up.
Right. I mean, the statistics nowadays about how many different jobs young people will have in their career are almost mind-boggling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've been in education really my whole career, different levels. I was a teacher and then an administrator, but basically in education. But that's probably not going to happen to our young people. And so what we try to teach them is how to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the technology changes how we do things so much that the best gift we can give is the gift of how to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So that when the student gets out and gets that first job and they thought it's what they wanted, and they find out they have to, you know, change dramatically because the technology takes away their job or whatever it might be, they have to be prepared for probably far more than you or I could have ever imagined when we were 18 and 19.
Absolutely, and that's what I appreciate more about not just Daytona State or Daytona Beach Community College, but especially Stetson. The teachers there taught you how to learn, how to ask questions and seek answers and find those answers, as opposed to some kind of rote memory where you learn, you know, automatically how to say, yeah, 2 + 2 is 4 and 4 + 4 is 8 and all this kind of stuff. You actually learn how to find the answers, find solutions to problems, and that's really what is so important, I think, during this day and time for not just young people, but for all people. I need to do a commercial break. This is Truth with Gwen Azama-Edwards, and my guest, of course, is the president for Daytona State College, Carol Eaton, and we're talking about, of course, education and Daytona State College and the like. This is WLE BIG Big 1380 AM on your radio dial in Ormond Beach, Florida, and we thank you all so much for listening. As we talk about the new technology, and of course, you've got some elementary schools now that are introducing iPads to the young people. And I know that was something that you all had considered. I don't know if it's still in the works, that you were going to get away from some of the textbooks and the like, right? Is that still a consideration?
It certainly is a conversation that we continue to have. I think some of the creative people at Daytona State College were probably a couple of years ahead of themselves. Because as I understand it, they were talking about that 2 or 3 years before I arrived, which makes it 4 or 5 years ago. But there's still a real concern for the cost of textbooks, and again the way technology can deliver a textbook. So I think in the next 3 to 5 years you will see a great change in how textbooks are delivered. Again, young people are going to expect to be able to have that textbook on their iPad and their readers and things like that. So many of our faculty are working with our instructional resource staff to develop their own materials now. And so again, I think you're going to see a big change in the next 3 to 5 years with how textbooks are delivered.
As I start out talking about your contract, and we know everything's great and going to be great, but in terms of your accomplishments as you see them, what would you consider some of your greatest accomplishments during the time that you've been president of Daytona State College?
Well, you know, I do want to give a shout out to the board. When I arrived, you all know, and many of your listeners probably know, that, you know, there was a lot of unrest and uncertainty. And so under the leadership of Dwight Lewis and certainly all of the board members, we have come a long way in putting Daytona State back on steady ground. And I think that's one of the accomplishments that a number of people should feel proud about and feel good about.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, beyond that, I will tell you that the environment and the morale on campus appreciates that steady hand, that leadership that's been there. You mentioned our tobacco-free policy. That's a wonderful accomplishment, I think, for all of our employees and our students. The fact that we've been able to add some new bachelor's programs and some new associate programs, I mean, that's what faculty love to do. They love to be creative and in their area of expertise start new programs. So those are very valuable. And I think finally the fact that our faculty can be very proud of the success rate of our students. In whether it's in developmental classes or our transfer rates, Daytona State is really a leader in having students be successful, and so I think that's an accomplishment again that we can all be proud of. You know, if you ask me my list of accomplishments, I will give you an answer from a team perspective.
Yes.
Because it really takes a lot of people, 1,000 people, as a matter of fact, to run Daytona State College. And I think those are some of the highlights that we have accomplished in the last couple of years.
As you look into your crystal ball in terms of things to come, things on the horizon that may not have even come to the point of being an item on the board agenda, and even looking at the area where you find yourself now, what are some more things that you think have to happen? And I'm sure, you know, coordination of programs and services would be one of the things at the top of the list, but what types of things do you feel need to really take place as we look toward the future and really becoming a much more progressive area?
Yes, I think a unique characteristic of Daytona State College is the fact that we have those regional sites. We are landlocked at our Daytona Beach main campus site. We have 100 acres, which sounds like a lot until you see all the cars that get parked on it. And so one of our strategies for the vision for the future is to very strategically increase some programs at those regional sites. And I think, again, that goes along with the idea of reaching out to the community. We think about Daytona and the growth that's at Daytona. And I know, again, our good partners at Bethune-Cookman University have just opened a site out there in Daytona. So I think there'll be some real energy there. So our vision is to move our programs out to the regional sites so that we continue to be accessible and affordable for our students and the people of this community.
As you do more outreach and as you find, and I know there are instruments that can be utilized in terms of this, but I think of as you do the outreach, even with what Bethune-Cookman University is doing and moving into some of the more western areas, there are individuals there who have a desire, and they've had a desire for some time really to go back to school, to increase their educational opportunities, and to see that for their children especially. Do you see with what is happening in terms of Bethune-Cookman or perhaps even other universities possibly extending their reach and their range, collaborative efforts with those other universities and colleges as well?
Yes, you know, personally, one of my major beliefs is that collaboration and partnerships is the way of the future. We cannot go this alone.
Right.
And, you know, whether it's 2+2, which means the first 2 years at Daytona State and then transfer 2 years to one of our partners, UCF or Bethune-Cookman University or Stetson or Embry-Riddle, you know, again, it comes back to choices that we offer our students. And, you know, I think, you know, as you said, in your history, and mine as well, it's very unusual nowadays for students to go to one university and stay there. We have a number of students that live in this area and go elsewhere. I don't know why they would do that, but they do. And then come back and take classes with us in the summer. So to me, that's a great collaboration, and it just emphasizes again how important it is that we allow students to choose their path, choose the courses that they need to take when they need to take it, You know, it's very seldom, very rare nowadays that a student starts at a four-year institution and finishes in 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Or starts with us for a two-year degree and finishes in 2 years. Finances get in the way, life gets in the way, people get married and have babies and start a new job. And so again, I think those partnerships, that's going to be the way of the future.
Mm-hmm.
And if I may, just to remind us, online classes are going to be a big part of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when those classes started, they were first known as distance learning classes.
Right? Yes.
And they were meant for, the vision was, those are for students who can't get to the college campus.
Mm-hmm.
So the distance meant they were far away. We sort of changed that language now and use it online because, you know, we have a number of students who might not have a computer at home. So they come to our library, they come to our computer
Mm-hmm.
labs, and they take the class online because that's the access that they have. So it's very interesting to see how the patterns are changing
Mm-hmm.
because of that technology.
And of course, key to all of this, as you've mentioned it, is one way to deal with the budget and then any kind of budget shortfalls and the like. There have been occasions where Daytona State, like other universities, have had to deal with increases, and I know, in truth, the recent article was that you guys have taken actions. You guys, you know, that's a Southern term. That I love using because I'm from the South. What can I say, native? But you've taken steps to keep the costs down for the students, understanding that ours is an area where, you know, you got low pay, you got, you know, just about a lot of stuff, but to keep the costs down so that education is as affordable as possible.
Yes, and I knew we'd get around to the budget and money sooner or later. Yes, we have been able to keep no increases in tuition the last several years, and actually that's a real challenge, and we've had to not fill some positions, some employee positions. We've had to cut some travel and professional development and make some difficult choices. But again, our commitment is to our students, and so we do that. You know, about 2/3 of our students get some sort of financial aid. And there's a lot of conversation. You can't pick up a newspaper nowadays without reading about the heavy financial burden for students. I mean, when you've got the President of the United States talking about colleges and affordability and tuition, you know that it is an issue, right? It's a really important issue. So we're committed to that. We do the best that we can to make sure that the students can afford it, that their financial aid packages are appropriate to really help families so that they can get that higher education that they need.
And along the same lines, in terms of the budget, in terms of decisions that are made with the Department of Education and the like, how do those decisions, so that our listeners can understand that process, are there decisions that they make that have to be or mandatory to be followed by Daytona State College, since you are a state college? And is there any flexibility in terms of if the legislature says that tuition will go up by 20-some%, then you have to follow suit, or 50% you have to follow suit? Is there a leeway in any of that?
Well, you're right in that there's a lot of regulation, and I can't imagine the legislators would say tuition has to go up 20%. It's more likely they would say you need to cut tuition. But if it comes through as a mandate, as a statute or a law, yes, we obviously have to follow that. They don't usually get that specific on the budget. The people who are responsible for setting our tuition are our Board of Trustees members at a local level. But there are many other things that come down from Tallahassee. I guess that's the expression that we would use. One right now that we're struggling with is our developmental education program. Some people feel that developmental education at the college level is a duplication, and therefore it's been paid for twice. I'll go back to your example about algebra. You know, if someone took algebra in high school, why do they need to take algebra again in college, and why should we pay for it twice? Well, I remind people there are a lot of people that come back to college that haven't been in a classroom for many years,
Mm-hmm.
and I bet you can't remember algebra either.
No.
So some of those developmental classes and remedial classes are for people who have been out of school for a long time.
Right.
In fact, the majority of people that are in those classes nowadays are people who have had at least some amount of time with not having, usually it's mathematics. So we're not paying for it twice. It's starting the students again where they are, where they come to us, and what they need. But the legislators this past session are very concerned and express their concerns about the number of students that are in our developmental education classes. They've given us some very strict guidelines about changes that need to be made. And so we will implement those changes and make sure that we follow what we have been told to do.
That sounds like that's about it for now, but stay tuned.
Right. More to come.
But you know, one of the things that I realized being older, and then I think back to when I was younger, because I finished high school at 17, and so I started college actually at that age, just before turning 18, and listening to and being in class and hearing what I heard then, I heard a total different way now as an adult. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
There's a difference in terms of what it means to me now as opposed to what it would have meant to me then. Probably not much then, other than knowing enough to pass the test. So there are differences in terms of where you find yourself, and even if it's the same course, a lot of stuff that's heard is just heard in a different way. You know, we have only to think about church, and my husband says he can preach the same sermon 3 or 4 different ways, and some people will get it at one time, and others will get it at another time or another time, but not everybody's going to get the one way that it's presented. So there are differences in terms of presentations and who delivers and the like. And I would agree with you that because it was offered 5-10 years ago does not meet the need of what you need, that foundation that needs to be laid now in order for them to move up to the next step.
Right. It is very different. And I would just comment, as you were describing that, I was thinking about the classroom that we see at a community college. Our faculty have students in their classroom that are 18 or perhaps even 17 or 16, as you've indicated, right up through maybe 56 or 66. And the wisdom that the returning adult brings to that classroom makes for such an interesting learning environment.
Yeah.
And often when I walk through the cafeteria or go into the library or academic support centers, I'll see groups of students working together. And very often there is a returning adult. You notice I'm very careful not to say an older student. There's a returning adult student mixed in with some of the younger students. And the students will tell you that it is so valuable having that spread of ages, because just as you were saying, the perspective is so different on learning.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. In fact, there's such value that you get from going to the community college setting, especially for persons who find themselves returning to the educational setting that have been out for a while. It is welcoming. In fact, I recall opportunities of going to meetings where adults that were attending the college shared the fact as to how comfortable they felt, you know, in the classroom setting, how comfortable the instructors as well as the other students made them feel, and how as a result of that, you know, they look forward every day to coming to class, and then they look forward to, once they completed a semester, coming the next semester.
Yes. That's great. That's music to my ears.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. You know, and as we're talking here today, I just have to remind your listeners, if I may, that the majority of our classes start on Monday. So if all of this great conversation we've had this afternoon has intrigued you, there is still time to come and get registered. And, you know, I often say that it takes a lot of courage for that returning adult to take that first step onto campus. not sure that they can compete with the younger people. You know, they haven't been in a classroom for a number of years. And I think what you've heard both Gwen and I say just now is that there's a comfort level that's established.
Yes.
And our faculty and our support staff, they know how to help the student learn. So come on down. That's a Southern expression too.
That's right. Come on down.
Classes start on Monday, and we've got room for you. And if you're intrigued by this and have been thinking about it, we would just love to have you come to Daytona State College to fulfill your dreams and work towards your personal future. We're here for you. We are your community college.
And for those who are interested, there's a website, right?
Absolutely, daytonastate.edu. And I think you'll find that that website is also very user-friendly. I can manage to get through it, so I think you can find out about admissions and financial aid and what it takes to take that first step to come onto campus.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Listen, is there anything else we've not covered? We hit up on a whole lot of stuff.
We have. This has just been a delight. I have just enjoyed it. It's almost as if we're sitting in your living room.
Yes,
so thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And that's what I say to persons who come on the show too. It's really just a conversation between friends. And we're trying to just share that information with others so that they can benefit, because I know that you feel this way in terms of the youth, in terms of the students, the staff, and others at Daytona State College. And I feel the same way about people overall, that the more we can do to help others, the better we feel. Absolutely. And the more we accomplish. You really accomplish what you're here for by what you do for others, not for yourself.
Absolutely, I agree.
So, thank you, thank you, thank you. And a shout out to your husband who's listening.
Indeed.
And to all of our listeners, we thank you for listening tonight. And we want to remind you to join in every Thursday starting at 6:15 or whenever we boot the big guy out of the chair, you know. I don't know what his problem was tonight. He had a little bug in there. But anyway, shout out to you too, Big John. But do join us every Thursday at 6:15 as we share things that will help to ensure that you're informed, that you're empowered, and as always, stand tall for what's right and what's truthful. Again, this is Gwen Azama-Edwards, and my guest again, our president for Daytona State College, Carol Eaton. And like you, like her, like all of us, we're still standing. You be blessed and have a great weekend. Be blessed and have a super, super great life. And you do that when you stay positive. You know, that's how your perspective, if your perspective is positive, your outlook is positive, and great things happen. You continue to be blessed.
Truth with your host, Gwen Azama-Edwards.
Right. Thank you, thank you, thank you.